Press the button. Yes. Now I'm ready for business. Let's go. We are on the pop server. We're checking out some gameplay from some champion potentials and the people they've invited into the circle to scrim up against. We are going to be opening up with the Muslim versus Crackedy with this beautiful new UI, courtesy of Capture Age. Look at it. You got your incomes. You got unit productions. You even got your researchers. Oh, I love how the pips... I think this is better than what we maybe had before because it's a little bit clearer just being below. And even down here, we've got some interesting details if you guys haven't noticed. We've got overview statistics. So some of these I think need to be clarified a little, but some of them are a bit clear. Relics, pretty obvious. Sacred Site's pretty obvious. Army value is Army Val. Yeah. I still don't know what Distur Val is. I can't even be able to figure it out. But of course, work kills makes a lot of sense. That's going to be worker kills, the amount of workers died. Pretty cool detail. And then I like these bars on top that kind of give you a balance shift of who's in charge right now. And as we can see opening up, Crackedy is the one taking lead. Interestingly enough, he went for the double scout play. And it looks like the Muslim playing as the Ottomans chose not to. And also, it looks like I'm an idiot and I need to turn something back on again. I always forget to switch it back on. Because I like playing with fog, folks. I'm a fogster. What can I say? That's not just a term for people who are fans of a certain Dota 2 talent. No, I enjoy checking the vision element here, seeing who's kind of got the advantage. It's kind of interesting, actually. The Muslim, I don't know if this is intentional, but I don't know how it would be fully intentional. The way he's actually optimized his scout, he's playing everywhere that Crackedy isn't. And maybe this is kind of a cool intended concept. Is like the Muslim wants to be one scout, and maybe he feels like Crackedy's going to go two. In which situation, if your opponent's going to go two, this is the way to think about it. If your opponent's going to go for two scouts, they're likely to go on the flanks. I think that's a fair assessment. Thinking back of all the games I've watched over the months, I'd say the vast majority of two scout plays involve going out on the flanks first. And thus, if you're playing one scout, there's more value in going to the center of the map first. There is kind of some balancing logic to where the sheeps come out, but on a map like Dry Arabia, it's actually a logical play out of the Muslim. It means he gets a bigger chunk than the map than maybe he should on just one scout. Anyway, looks like it's going to be HRE being manned by Crackedy on the other side, which is why it was intriguing to see him go for the secondary scout play. Not something I say you see too frequently. The HRE is one of those civs that's maybe a little bit more content to stick on one scout just to get that extra level of efficiency. You have to keep in mind this is a civ that for every villager they build, you know, it's 40% more effective. So any villager extra you miss out on is more hard felt by this civ than other particular ones. Anyway, speaking of the civs, on one side is going to be the twin minaret Madris going up. Of course, if you guys remember, this is the one that lets you get berry bushes. Berry bushes that you gather quicker from. Don't get the Ottomans confused with the Abbasids or the Delhi. They do not collect quicker in general. It's only from the Madris. And you guys have got something weird going on with the audio? Only left side. Ah, apologies. Let me fix that quickly. I think I know what's causing that. I really need to redo my setup entirely. I'm going to make... is to completely reinstall... well, wipe my PC basically and reinstall everything by the end of the year. All right, there we go. It's fixed. Thank you, chat. Wonderful cues. All right, so tech up underway. Arkan Chapel on the other side. Arkan that, you know, that never actually got nerfed, which was kind of surprising to me. I expected that to be one of the changes coming in, is that the HRE going to get a little bit crippled on the Arkan element because they tried going the other way where they tried to make the mine work better. It just didn't work. And they buffed the Arkan. I don't know if that was by accident or intentionally. It must have been intentionally because I don't know how you do it accidentally, making a drop-off point on the following patch. Kind of feels like we're at a point where mine work might just need a complete rework, right? Mine work does not work. So hopefully in a coming patch after Red Bull, we can see that happen. I didn't expect them to make a change ahead of Red Bull that drastic. Like reworks before the biggest tournament in Age of Empires history is a dangerous thing. Like bringing in new civs can be its own challenge in terms of balancing. At least then you can direct all efforts to interactions with existing civs. But if you take existing civs and drastically overhaul the way certain things function for them, it can be easily a recipe for disaster. So tech up's complete. Of course, like I said, with this Madris, you can see you spawn these small berry bush patches. They're only 175 food, but they have great gathering rates. You can see here, in fact, 50% faster. Yes, you heard that correctly. 50%, which means that they gather berries here quicker than the Abbasids and Delhi do elsewhere on the map. But of course, the catch is, you know, you have to wait for them to respawn. It takes 120 seconds. They don't last that long, but it is a safe resource bank. Cool thing about this, it means that Muslim is now able to go straight to the military school, which of course will allow him to passively produce troops. The logic here is when you keep your food source condensed like this, when you keep everything a little bit retracted, there's less requirement to defend at home, right? This is going to free him up to probably go into the Sipahi as the opening unit to be generated out of this building. And I wouldn't mind seeing a second military school very quickly here. That's why he goes on the stone, by the way. Cool thing about the Ottoman build, I think because they're required to go on stone to get their military schools, this is a civ that will naturally benefit from going for the secondary TC. They have the influx of food via the Madris build to afford additional villages, and you already need to go out on with a mining camp to gather in this area, right? So you might as well make lemons while the sun's out. That doesn't make sense, but I'll go with it. Because the logic here is, otherwise, you're pulling these villages to get enough together to build the military schools, and then you have to pull away. It feels like a lot of wasted kind of idle time in that way. Kind of annoying, actually, how you can't see... It's kind of weird how you can't actually see the cost of buildings in capture age. I'm so used to coming down here to kind of give you guys like a reference point of how much X or Y thing costs, right? And I can't actually do that anymore, which is kind of weird. Because military school, the thing you got to keep in mind is they cost stone. I'm trying to remember how much it is. I think it's 50, no, 100. Wait, no. Is it 50 stone? It must be 50 stone. I want to say 50 stone. I'm probably going to be wrong with that. I need to, like, revise my numbers. But it does cost a decent amount of stone. And then on top of that, because you're going to be on there so long, you might as well gather the additional to go for a TC. In fact, look at this. The Muslim does get what he needs. The 350 stone now required to build a town center. Yep, that did actually get tweaked. I like that change as well. I think me and Mr. discussed this a decent amount on one of the previous streams. Snooper joined in as well, and he was there. We were talking about the fact that, like, TCs are just too easy to build. They're too easy to justify. There's not really any downside to going for a secondary third TC versus early military production. So it just makes sense you want to adjust the pace of this escalation. An escalation that's going to happen on both sides, actually, is crackedy also goes to the town center, dropping on the deer stack, will get more value than his opponent. But the Muslim, of course, does have military influence on his side, as he should be able to get 3 units out, which now forces crackedy to invest in troops, which will cost him, right? Which is kind of a cool dynamic, because while the Ottomans don't pay anything but this initial investment into a military school, they're passively over long term is going to generate these units. They're going to force the HRE that usually have a very big eco benefit to their side, right? An extra like a 1.4 times modifier in each villager, to invest that extra eco into military because of the coming threat. First Sipahi are going to hit the field. Remember, these guys are like horsemen, but better in pretty much every way, actually. Like the damage, armor, about the same. But the cool detail is they get an extra 10 health compared to horsemen at the stage. And on top of that, they have this, the fortitude, which makes them better than everything else with the attack speed increase. Now, they do take more damage, but fact is, if you just do like a basic mathematical equation, it's a worthwhile exchange to attack 50% faster, take 50% more damage in a horseman on a horseman clash, simply because you have a higher raw HP. This Sipahi are at least wasting a lot of Crackedy's time. Crackedy, I want to see what's going to come next out of him. I wonder if he just tries to boom up. It looks like he might be playing condensed food eco with this amount of wood. Or wait, is he going 3 TCs? He's going 3 TCs. He's got enough stone almost for the third one here. Interesting build. I wouldn't expect the HRE to do this, but then again, we have to remember the HRE got nerfed, right? Like, the ringnets is not as impressive as it once was. So maybe this is the new way. Boom up around feudal instead of waiting until further down the line imperial to get your eco boom via villages. Someone's trying to argue the point around the Sipahi is, like, because you have high HP, you don't have to use it. There's no reason not to, though. That's the logic you have to consider here. So the reason you want to use Fortitude is it ends the battle quicker against the Horsemen, right? That's the be-all, end-all. You should come out ahead in even numbers, and it'll end it quicker. It'll make it a little bit more vicious, and if you're feeling like you're better at microing, all the more justification to do it. Because the issue you got to consider is, like, a good player in a Horseman vs Sipahi clash will realize he can't win in equal numbers and pull back. If you activate Fortitude, you can instantly punish him at the beginning of that clash and then maybe get an extra strike or two in when he retreats. For TC on the other deer stack. Man, Crackedy is being a greedy boy. No walls, no nothing. And Sipahi are going to be a little bit of a nuisance, but they'll struggle to dive these TCs. However, it looks like crackedy is investing more into military force as he should be in this situation. Spearmen are in a decent number. You got 4 out there, and more being produced as well in the meantime. In fact, it looks like more supply come from the Muslim and a tech up on the way. It's going to be the Mehmed Imperial Armory. If you remember, this is the one that gives you free siege. And also the key detail, you got to remember, folks, take notes of it. Like when it comes to benefiting from these passive generations, you need the blacksmiths. Because without the blacksmiths, you don't get an increased production rate, which you can see is 25%, 33%, 40% via H. Very big deal here. Don't be like me with my first Ottoman experience and totally forget about that when optimizing my base layout and not leaving room for a blacksmith whatsoever. Crackedy, a little bit of a pickle here. He's going to be playing from behind on the tech up. The good news for him is he's playing the HRE, so catch up is not difficult, especially with this many TCs, with the gathering rates on these deer. Although, it's got to be said, Crackedy, a little bit of a whoopsie-daisy, if you ask me, not having prelates out here, buffing up the gathering rate on this food. It's a crime. I mean, it feels like he's missing out on a lot of benefit here. I would love to see him set up a few farms as these sheep expire as well, just simply because he has got more than enough wood to do so. Horseman continue to just clash out in the midfield. Tech up is going to complete. The Muslim will instantly queue up Mangonels. It's going to take him just over 2 minutes at this production pace. Curious to see, actually, if the Muslim is going to... I was about to say what techs he's going to go for in the Imperial Council, but we can't check that yet. Oh, I do love that. Wow, I didn't notice that detail before. So if you click these clocks, you can change between income per minute and the amount of villages, which I think is a really nice detail. Because the thing is, like, seeing these incomes per minute, you might think that they're neck and neck without giving drastic thought to like the villages and what they're doing. But then when you click across, you're like, wow, look at these income rates. 690 food compared to 1,500, and then you see 22 compared to 25. Obviously, this is because the income per minute is now coming in for the Muslim, but still, once we're at full swing with both of them on the food with this many villages, you'll see just how powerful the HRE can be at this situation. Especially if we do start to see more prelates coming out from Crackedy. But for the time being, all we're going to see is more defenses, not TCs this time around. It's going to be the long wall. A very ambitious wall at that as well. Not someone I'd say I see frequently out of the HRE. But I've been seeing this more and more. I know that Crackedy is a very big fan of this. Going in for the Burgrave Palace, a sensible choice considering he doesn't really have map control right now, considering he's playing from behind on tech. And also, Regnitz did get tweaked, right? I say tweaked, it got kneecapped. It's not as good as it once was, so it makes a little bit more sense that the Burgrave could be the play. Especially considering he only had 1 rack so far. Well, that tech up now. Let's see who's going to actually start to get momentum on their side. See, the issue for Crackedy, so far it's only been showing stable units. And as a result, the Muslim did start to build into Janissary. Janissary, a unit, very kind of unorthodox one here. It gets bonus damage against cavalry. Yes, you heard that right. Ranged gets bonus against cavalry. Also has been tweaked now. I believe it no longer takes extra damage from cavalry, which I believe it had an issue with in the open phase of the pop. So now it won't take the additional damage from ranged units, from melee units rather, but it will, however, only do 50% damage to anything but cavalry, right? That's the balance point. Is these trench guns, they're kind of okay at 16 damage, but they're more like a crossbow. So when they're up against cavalry, they can be really formidable. It's an interesting power dynamic as well compared to what you used to, because usually we were seeing like arbalètriers or crossbows that have good base damage and then get bonus damage, smaller bonus damage against armored units. This is an interesting one because it covers 2 layers. It covers heavily armored units and lightly armored units as long as they are cavalry-based. Now that he sees the cavalry-based units, Crackedy just wants to retreat. Sapahi marching forward here. Spearmen are going to turn around and be sacrificed. Interesting choice to clash here from Crackedy, because now if the Muslim just activates the fortitude, he can run rampant through this. So he's going to hold for the moment, though, just keep chasing. Has added archers into the mixer as well, and now the men-at-arms being stockpiled up by Crackedy. Needs to get a few more out before he's ready to juke this out, though. Starts to march out. MAA are in, but they just don't have a good target. I mean, where are the Langsnecht? I feel like Langsnecht would be the one you need here, Crackedy. Oh, no. No! So the issue here is that Crackedy just built a unit that does nothing against this composition. The men-at-arms don't get bonus damage against the Janissary. They don't get bonus damage against the Sapahi, right? Because they're not heavily armored, they're lightly armored. At the same time, your damage isn't really that high, right? Like if you rely on the heavy maces, that doesn't matter. So really, you're only doing 14 damage. The Janissary do more damage than that, and they don't have to worry about melee, right? They don't have to gap close. Missed trick here. I mean, Langsneck or Spearman here really could have turned it around for crackedy, but he went for the kind of mid-range choice, right? The one that would have cost the same as a composition of Langsneck and Spears. He went MAA, and now Corner Farm transition. I think he is going to be the one pulverized out of this game. Janissaries are in. They're not leaving. Sipahi Mass is just encroaching deeper upon the base, and I mean, this is looking short. The Janissary will target down the Langsneck. Lanx getting a few good cleaves, actually. Looks like the Muslim hasn't noticed one or two of them still swinging in there. However, damage really is just escalating here. The Muslim, yes, he'll lose to Sipahi, but the Janissary still stand, and that's the more important detail. And this is crackedy's last hope. A low play, one that's not going to happen because gunpowder beats religion. It's maybe controversial to say, but true here. Good plays coming out from the Muslim, understood his timing, saw he had a beautiful comp up against crackedy's and did not hesitate to dive. And crackedy, although he tries to adjust his format to include the required unit Langsneck, it is too little too late. The Janissary ball is too big. He can't go back to some sort of cavalry composition to assist. And it feels like he's holding onto a relic, praying that he can turn the game around. But in this case, it's unable to do so.